Hey everybody, what is up? We are live out there at a couple of places. We're going to officially start the show in a second, but first we are trying out some Instagram streaming. So
We're trying out this Instagram. It's
yeah,
catching
have you
on.
checked it out? It's
It's like
pictures
pictures.
on the internet. Yeah. Oop, it's working. Okay, here we go. It's weird because I can hear myself. But all right, we are live on Instagram, so we're going to give this a little bit of a pause, and then we are going to start. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we're coming to you live from a bunch of places on the internet. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitch. We're live on X/Twitter. We're live on Instagram, I think. Maybe.
For the first time.
Yeah, for the first time. Plus, we're rolling to you live on audio. Well, not live on audio because it's not. Later on audio on a bunch of places, wherever you're listening, wherever you're checking out the show. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. You all are awesome. This is our last live show of the year.
Woohoo!
And what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be rolling out our best comic books of 2023. I do want to give a particular shout out to Justin Tyler for coming out, even though he's sick tonight.
Yes. Long day in Justin land, but
Oh, boy.
Here I am.
But one thing you're not sick of, Justin, is great comics this year, right?
That's right. In fact, I'm drowning in them.
We are drowning in them. I do want to mention before we get into it, so the way that we put this together, just so everybody knows, if you want a little process about it, we all came up with our top 20 lists. We took those, culled those together as a discussion point, and we got on the phone for a heated conversation. It was
heated.
It was surprisingly heated this year, and I think part of the reason is there were legitimately so many good comics that came out. This was really hard. I mean, I don't want to speak for you guys. I mentioned this. I culled my best comics list down to real tight 129 titles. And I was like, how do I cut any of these? These were all good.
From the man who stacks the stack, there's 129 comics to talk about this year.
Yeah, it's
agreed, though.
It's hard because we were like, hey, let's do a top 20, and then we'll only do 15. It made it even harder.
I know. It was hard and it was tough. We did make some choices. Ultimately, I think we came up with a list that we believe is representative of a lot of the titles that we've talked about this year. Not everybody's going to agree with everything, but we are going to explain why we chose the titles we chose. And then, because we can't make choices, we'll have a couple of honorable mentions at the end.
Astute listeners may be able to spot some of the disagreement. Please write in and let us know if you hear any.
Yes. Could that happen? We'll find out. So why don't we get into it? Here we go. I'm going to try also a new setup here while we do our best comics to roll them out. That doesn't matter for anybody listening to the audio
look
podcast.
At this.
I was having a little fun today, guys. Playing around with the whole thing.
I love that this is fun for you.
It is. Doing PowerPoints, rolling out presentations. Ooh, I'm in heaven, baby.
I love it. I truly do love it.
All right, so here we go. Let's kick it off. We're going to do from number 15 all the way down to number 1. This is number 15, Danger Street. Number 9 from DC Comics, written by Tom King, art by Jorge Fornes. Pete, take it away. Why is this issue our number 15 pick?
Well, first off, it starts off with the yelling helmet every issue, which is just a great idea and really well executed. But
that's true.
You can say a lot of different amazing things about Tom King. I just like this weird story. It's a weird story. It's kind of crazy. It really delivers. I mean, when you start with the screaming helmet and then go from there, you really got to deliver. And I think this really is worth being on this list. It's very creative. The art's amazing. It's a fun Tom King story told well.
A well-told story. I'll just jump in here and say, Danger Street there's a reason the whole series isn't mentioned here. Like a series that could sometimes be a little convoluted and a little unclear where it was headed or what it was amounting to. This issue is like the bang or one of the top best single issue comics of the year. It's a fight between two characters. It's great gore. It's deeply philosophical. It's just I think all three of us separately finished this issue, set it down, and was like, wow. That was fantastic.
Yeah, totally agree on everything that most of you guys said. Why don't we move on to the next big? No, I do.
Fight.
I don't know. The shouting
Get
helmet
it.
was very shouty at me. That's all I'm saying. But
Yes.
this issue was absolutely phenomenal. Totally agree. Let's kick it off with
The shouting
two
helmet
ongoing-
reminded me of Pete.
Yeah, there you
Yay.
go. Let's kick it on with this is kind of two titles, but it's sort of the same title. We put it as one at number 14, She-Hulk / The Sensational She-Hulk from Marvel Comics, written by Rainbow Rowell, art by Luco Maresca, Andre Genolette, and Joe Quinones. So this is a title that they literally in the first issue of Sensational She-Hulk say, hey, we reset it to number 1 because we really wanted to sell better because we love this book. I love this book too. This is, I've said this so many times, but hands down, one of the best romance books on the stands. It's also one of the only romance books on the stands. But Rainbow Rowell does such a good job of amping up your tensions here, particularly in the last couple of arcs, as the romance with Jack of Hearts and She-Hulk has gotten hot and heavy and interesting and complicated. She's building up a rogues gallery for She-Hulk at the same time that's really interesting. And mostly the book is just moments in She-Hulk's life. You see her go to her job sometimes. She's got a punch club with a bunch of other characters sometimes. It's very fun. It's very funny. It's very sweet. But most of all, it'll get your heart beating while you read it.
Yeah, agreed. It's just, it's really, you feel the heart of it, which is great with She-Hulk. And also there's just so many great badass moments, and the art such a cool tone for the whole vibe of it. It constantly delivers. You know, there's some comics that are like sometimes good. So this She-Hulk is constantly really good, and this is no exception.
If you're a fan of the Rogue Gambit relationship from back in the day, I think this is a good. There's some connections there between She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts, and just makes you want to love.
Love that love. Let's go over to our number 13 pick, Poison Ivy from DC Comics, written by G. Willa Wilson, art by Marcio Takara and Luana Vecchio. Justin, why don't you take this one away?
I mean, this is a book that when it started, because it started last year, and we were like, oh, this is fun. It's like a villain going out and doing something truly more villainous, more monstrous than we expect from her. And then the book sort of transformed. It moved very step by step. It felt like the kind of writing that we don't get in comic books. It felt very organic, pun not intended, coming from Poison Ivy, where like the pieces of the story kept coming together. We saw a lot of Harley Quinn popping in and out, so great relationship. But the Killer Croc being sort of a main player in recent issues, like it just feels like good comic storytelling that's coming out without super consistently.
Yeah, I was really impressed with like the story was so creative and interesting. She really kind of wrestled with being a kind of super villain and kind of destroying everyone. It was also this fun road trip aspect of it. It was nice to get her out of Gotham a little bit on her own, kind of having her own adventures. So yeah, I think it really delivered, and all the things that Justin said.
The two things that I'd add on to what you guys have said, I think it's super impressive that this book went from unsure about its future. I think it was originally supposed to be 6 issues long, but so well, it just kept going. That could have led to a sense of the book spinning its wheels, but it's never felt like that running through the current issues going through the end of the year. And then the other thing I give a big shout out to is the art here. That's perfectly matched.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, yeah.
I was going to say it was tight bananas. Is that okay, Pete?
It's super tight.
Right.
Oh, super
Get
tight.
that
Sorry.
out, because that's a 2023 phrase that we're not bringing forward.
Super
That's
tight nanners, come out.
Oh man, this book is sharp pineapples, as I always say. That's our
Yes,
2024
see?
phrase. The
Fresh.
art by Marcio Takara and also Luana Vecchio, who filled in for an arc, is psychedelic in this super fascinating way that never loses track of the action or the characters. It's not weird for weird's sake, as these spores are growing out of Poison Ivy and consuming the world. Smart storytelling, beautiful art, great book.
Yeah.
Great road story that also comes back to sort of the premise, the quote unquote premise, often, and it's really, really nice.
Number 12. This was a audience favorite pick. Know Your Station.
Know your
from
station,
Boom.
audience.
Know Your Station. From Boom Studios, written by Sarah Gailey, art by Liana Congas. I say this is an audience favorite because I was creeping on some of the picks from our Slack, we were talking about
Hey,
this.
don't be a
anyway.
creep, man.
What a way
Don't
to
be a
say that,
creep.
Alex.
No. Like I creeped
You're
into their
abusing
house
your
and looked through the
admin
window
privileges.
and stuff. It was pretty gross. Anyway, this was picked multiple times on other people's lists when they were talking about it in the Patreon Slack. We had it on our list as well, so labeled it audience favorite because it is. This is such a smart, unique story about a detective who is not a detective in a space station. She doesn't even want to be there. She's addicted to drugs and is forced
Super
to
drugs.
confront this wild, overly violent, disgusting mystery where people are just being set up in pieces and body parts, which could get very gruesome, but Sarah Gelly never loses the humor in the situation. Without spoiling too much about where it goes, it gets to this really surprising and interesting place that pits the haves against the have-nots, that says something about our current society, presents a way that's pretty shocking and in your face, but again, very smartly and funnily done. This book takes chances, and then beyond that, you got Liana Kangas' art, who is a bright, shining star in the comic book art scene. This is a gorgeous book to look at with some really exciting and very different feeling sci-fi settings and characters. Love this book.
Great twists and turns, and where it lands, no one could see that coming, like you were saying, Alex.
100%. Next up, at number 11, Batman, One Bad Day, Clayface, from DC Comics, written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, art by Zermanica. This is another one-shot here in our best of. Justin, why was this one issue worth putting in?
I guess I like single issues because this one was, again, immediately something that I put it down. I was like, wow, fantastic. It's Clayface. We get into Basil Carlo, the sort of human underneath the clay, his origin story, and it's a real Hollywood story. And you can feel it's something we don't see a ton of in DC. There may be another version of it coming up in the countdown here. But story set in Los Angeles in the DC universe, really getting into Hollywood. You can feel Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing drawing on some maybe personal experiences here that I thought were great. Great art. It's reminded me a lot of the Batman the Animated Series Clayface, which is, to me, the best version of the character. That 2-episode origin from maybe the first season, Feet of Clay, I believe, is so good. And this had me going right back there mentally.
I would say also the Harley Quinn animated series is a great Clayface as well.
Doesn't besmirch that.
Okay, I'm just saying we're talking about great Clayface. This deserves a shout out. That art though. I mean, damn, that art though. It's phenomenal. It's worth it for the art alone. This is just a great idea of what Clayface is and can be, and playing with that in such a creative, cool way. We had to put it on there. It was such a, just as Justin said, it melts your mind, this comic, after reading it. It's glorious.
Turns your mind to clay. You become.
Hey, there it is. It was right there in front of us.
All the One Bad Day books were pretty good or pretty interesting or fun to read, but this one, like you guys have been saying, is heads and tails over the other ones. It's like a Tales from the Crypt episode almost, in a certain way. The way that it plays out is this horror Hollywood tale. It's tragic, it's epic. Like Pete said, the art is absolutely gorgeous throughout and horrific often with what happens with Clayface. Great book. Stray Bullet has a quick question here. Will we still be saying worth it for the art alone in 2024?
Taking that one to the grave.
I'm going to start saying it's not worth it for the words alone. Is that okay?
That's pretty good. I think it's
wordy, but all right.
I think in 2024 we're going to be saying staples are currency now. So break your comics open and spend those staples. So a lot of different takes there.
Yeah, man.
All right, shall we get into the top 10 here? The really good books.
Oh man!
Wow.
All right, here we go. Kicking it off, number 10, The Cull from Image Comics, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Matea de Luis. This is a YA sort of book mixed with epic Lovecraftian horror as a bunch of kids head through a weird cave in the ocean or lake, not 100% clear to be honest. Body of water.
An isthmus, perhaps.
Yes, perhaps. I think that's a landmass, actually. But
it's bordered by water. So.
Exactly. Yeah, sure. Peninsula. Again, a landmass. Anyway, they go through a cave. They come to a mystical place. This is one of the most creative books I read all year, but the real standout here, we always love Kelly Thompson, is Mattia de Iluisa's art, which is stunning. I was thinking about it today, how to describe it when we were getting ready for the show, and it almost feels like you're looking at statues when you're seeing the art. Like it's these statues that obviously they are not moving because it's a still page, but have
Like
come
statues,
to life.
I will say, Alex.
It feels
That's
iconic.
like statues.
Beg to differ. Anyway, they gorgeous art that feels iconic and epic. Absolutely beautiful. I do not know what technique this artist uses to do it, but absolutely blown away by this. Love this book, and I'm sad that it is, I believe, ending with the final issue next month, but I can't wait to see how it all wraps up.
Agree.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed this. This reminded me a lot, or it had some bones to similar to Lost, the TV show that we all love, except for the end, except for Alex.
Nope.
So like, if you're a fan of that, I think this is a great book to get into. Agree with everything Alex said, except for the moving statues thing. I just have some.
I just think this is, as Zalbatron mentioned, the creativity on this was off the charts. Such a well-executed idea, and the art just elevated to a completely different level. Kelly Thompson, if she's there, I'm showing up to check it out for sure. And man, what a delivery. This is just 10 out of 10. So we put it number 10.
All right. At number 9 is Disney Villains Maleficent.
Come on, baby. Yeah.
All right. Is this my daughter's top? Is this my daughter's
all
top?
Right. All
right. Come on.
Okay. Gatekeeper by Sue Lee. Pete, obviously you're a big fan of this based on the way you're cheering. Why was this book so good?
First off, words are bullshit, and this comic knows that, okay? It just did such a great job of taking something and taking a property that we know, maybe some people love, maybe some people don't, but elevated it in the comic book form in such a great way through such a creative lens. Like there were just panels that were just setting mood and tone as you're following this kind of like raven flying over the woods. It was beautiful. It was epic. It pulled you into the story, and it just took a character that you're like, whatever, but made it so great and made it so undeniable. It had to be on our list. It was just such a refreshing thing in a stack of superheroes and other stuff. It just really stood out and stood apart, and was just didn't try to be Disney. It just was telling such a cool, wicked story. I was just so moved by it.
Wicked is Wizard of Oz, but I understand what you're saying.
No, fucking wicked, great, man. It's fucking wicked.
It was, yes. I would mention that overall, the Disney Villains line has been punching far above its weight for what I expected from it at all. But I agree with Pete. This book is absolutely subtly gorgeous. Every issue is ostensibly its own done-in-one tale of Maleficent, but it's slowly building over the course of the series as bigger and bigger adversaries come to challenge her in the woods. The art style by Sue Lee feels like those classic pieces of concept art from Disney movies. I think that's what she's channeling there. Stunningly gorgeous. Love just looking at this book. It's great.
Yeah, I was making fun earlier, but I actually really enjoyed this as well. It has like Alex, to your point, like the concept art, like deeper fairy tale and mythological underpinnings, the Maleficent specifically, and beautiful art that doesn't feel like it's trying to be the dark take, just telling a great story with this villain as the centerpiece character.
At number 8, Uncanny Spider-Man from Marvel Comics, written by Cy Spurrier, art by Lee Garbett. This is a 5-issue series that took Nightcrawler after the events of the Hellfire Gala, sent him to New York, put him in a Spider-Man suit, and then pitted him against the Vulture, who had been infected by the techno-organic virus, and Silver Sable, who was tasked to take him down. There is no reason this series should have worked at all. It was such a weird concept, and instead, here it is at number 8 on our list. And part of the reason is because it's maybe the best Spider-Man book that came out this year, beyond maybe the best X-Men book that came out this year as well. It perfectly melds those two worlds, adds a great romance between Nightcrawler and Silver Sable, some excellent enemies that make total sense with Nightcrawler and with Spider-Man and with the New York setting. It's just this perfect melding of these two worlds. Plus you got Lee Garbutt's art, which is so clear, so perfect superhero art. Plus, Cy Spurrier, we've mentioned this a million times on the stack, can get very heady with his stuff sometimes. This took some very heady concepts, particularly towards the end, with a lot of the phenomenal twists, and simplified them down so they just became fun and enjoyable and funny throughout. Just a perfect comic book from front to back. I was so happy with this miniseries.
I feel like a lot of comics sort of take their time, at least an issue, to be like, all right, here's what we're doing. Here's these characters, they're going to be a different situation. This book did not mess around. It just went so hard all the way, changed some continuity without feeling like it was aggressively or purposefully doing so. And like Alex said, the most fun Spidey book out there, not featuring Spider-Man hardly at all.
Next up at number 7, Adventures of Superman, John Kent from DC Comics, written by Tom Taylor, art by Clayton Henry. Pete, talk about this one.
Yeah, this was such just a smart, cool, beautiful take on John Kent. Loved all the different, it just made Superman feel fresh and new again in such a great way that really kind of leaned into Superman's kind of characteristics and trying to be perfect and stuff. So I just think creatively they did such a great job of elevating this character in such a great way. Art was fantastic. Storytelling was off the charts. I loved every issue of this. Every issue was just such a pleasant and happy surprise.
It's hard to come up with a new Superman. We don't ever do it. And the fact that John Kent worked so well. And if you're a fan of Nightwing, that many of us are, sort of a book that's been on the top of the list for a few years, and you haven't checked this out, this is like the Nightwing of the Superman Nightwing.
This is essentially just an extension of the previous book. They gave it a little bit of a new storyline, but for the most part, it's not like a fresh new title so much as the previous John Kent title that Tom Taylor is just continuing. But you did get this great Injustice arc in there, which really, again, should not have worked at all, pitting John Kent against the Injustice Superman.
Agree. In fact, I was so bummed when that was sort of announced. I was like, this is going to overtake this book that I love, that is so like heartfelt and emotionally driven, and sort of graft this larger story on it. And I think they just they were able to combine all that stuff together. Sorry.
Yeah. And this is one that I've certainly seen people online griping about and saying, oh, that was so stupid. I don't like how that turned out. That was so dumb. Worked for me. I was very emotionally involved in it. So sorry. All right, why don't we move on to number 6 then? Local Bad from Image Comics by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleecs. This is one of the best new surprises of the new year, though it should be no surprise because we love Tim Seeley stuff. We love Tony Fleecs stuff. This is about a 90s style superhero who was in a super team called Third Gen. Think Wildcats, and you generally have the idea. He gets kicked out of the team and has to go home to his hometown. There he becomes the crime-fighting local man, basically just wearing a ski mask and bumming around, as you can see on the cover here if you're watching live, with his dog. There's some mysteries and there's some deeper stuff with continuity that's going on here that they're setting up. But mostly it's about examining what it's like to come home again after you've been a celebrity. And beyond that, there are these phenomenal flip side stories, if you flip around the comic, that ape the style of old 90s comics, but have some really deeper thoughts behind them that tie into the overall continuity. And without jumping the gun too much, going into even this week's issue, these two guys are really just starting to break down the format of the comic book here at the same time.
Stop jumping the gun.
In such a smart way. I'll also give a shout out to Local Bad Gold, was a one-shot that came out this year that was like a Image Comics crossover that I never thought I would see in a million years. They're doing amazing creative stuff in absolutely every issue of this book.
I want to live in Tony Fleecs' world. I mean, the sunsets, the tones, the moodiness that is created through this art is just so great. I mean, we talk a lot about Tim Seeley and how amazing he is, but the two of these powers combined make such a interesting, cool comic that really delivered issue after issue. This was a real creative force to be reckoned with.
Same. Like, if you're a fan of, I feel like I'm trying to make the larger connections to really get books like this in people's hands because we love them so much. If you're a fan of the iconic Matt Fraction Hawkeye run,
Yeah.
I think this is a great thing to follow up. It's like small town Hawkeye with a guy who's really down on his luck, just trying to get by. Like Alex said, deeper continuity forming here, but great relationships, great characters. One of my faves.
Next up at number 5, we're in the top 5 here. Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees from IDW Publishing by Patrick Horvath. Justin, talk about this book.
This book was such a surprise. It's the busy world of Richard. I'll give you the pitch. The busy world of Richard Scarry, except there's a murderer. In fact, 2 murderers in their ranks. And we get to see, it's funny. We get to see these like gruesome murders carried out by like fun animals. But it's hard to do good sustained horror in comics. Like we get a lot of like horror anthology series where you get some great stories, but to do sustained horror, I think is not easy. And this book so far has been crushing it.
Yeah. Like you said earlier on, Justin, it's hard to come out and be like, this is what this book is right in the first issue. Only 2 issues have been released so far. And a lot of the stuff when we were going through our list, I was like, 1 issue has been released, 2 issues, I don't know if I feel comfortable. This one, 100% no-brainer to put into the top 10 here. The art is gorgeous and cute and horrifying at the same time. To be clear, it does not hold back. You know, we've talked about this when we've reviewed either issue. It is gruesome. This is straight up gruesome, disgusting horror with these adorable animal people. But also it seems to, with the second issue, to be getting into a little bit more about the horror that is beneath every small town, that there are always these sublimated desires, sublimated anger that is going on there. So I'm really excited to see where this goes and also kind of terrified at the same time.
I want to see this as an animated series right away. That'll scare the pants off of Pete LePage. Pants LePage.
There we go. All right, why don't we go to number 4? The Joker, The Man Who Stopped Laughing from DC Comics, written by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Carmine Giandomenico and Francesco Francavilla. Pete, why did this book not stop you from laughing?
Well, this was just such a idea that I was like, what? 2 Jokers? And destroyed my expectations and just, first off, art, unbelievable. Fantastic use of like the faces on the Joker and stuff. Just, the expressions, the fun. Oh my God, they ripped into LA. They ripped into New York. They just had such a blast with this. Comedically, it was fantastic. It was the Joker in a way that I really wanted. A lot of people try to play with this idea of Joker being funny or just out of his mind, and this perfectly nailed it in such a great, entertaining way. The story was so clever, and it delivered on many levels, and the art just really accelerated it. Every issue of this was a banger. I was just completely blown away from the first issue on. Such a great execution of an idea. Blew me out of the water. I love this.
This book, I feel like, bit off a lot, but was able to execute on it. It was like complex. It was like a little bit confusing at times, but really just brought it all together. We talk a lot and funny. And again, hard to do in comics. I think in general, starting to put together like a theme of this list, like originality and like really punching through using emotion is something that I think we always look for in our comics. And this book did that with comedy at the forefront, but with also great action, great character choices. Love to see Manhunter out here sort of doing her best / not quite nailing it. Just a really great book.
Totally agree with everything that you guys said. I'll just add on that we've seen the multiple Jokers concept a bunch lately, which is weird. Yeah. This is the one book that made it work. This is the only one that I've seen where I'm like, this is interesting. I'm interested in this mystery. I want to see where it goes. I'm emotionally involved. And like you guys have already said, Carmine Giandomenico's art in the front is intense and exaggerated the way that you want from a Joker book. And the backup stories with Francesco Francavilla have been these perfect old school stories that really tie into the overall narrative that are so smartly done.
We should mention the way that they are woven together over the course of the series is again unexpected and really well done.
Yeah. All right. Are you all ready? We're about to head into. We have a quick question here from Stray Bullet. Is this in continuity? Yes, it is. It is an in continuity story. So in this book, there are 2 Jokers. I think they've mentioned that in Batman and a couple of other titles. Yeah. And then there's also 3 Jokers. So I guess there's 5 Jokers.
Yeah, they're 2 separate buckets of Jokers. Man, when they meet, that's going to be fun. 5 Jokers, all wild.
Jokers who adore you. All right, why don't we get into the top
That's an
3?
Impractical number of Jokers. You know what I'm talking about?
Why don't we get into the top 3 here? Best 3 comics of the year. No arguments necessary. Here we go. Number 3, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World from Boom Studios.
Yes.
Written by Jason Aaron. Art by Alexander Tefenkgi, Leila Del Duca, and Nick Dragotta. I hedged a little bit earlier when we were talking about She-Hulk as the best romance comic of the year, because this one is, I think, the best comic about romance of the year, is what I'd say. This takes 2 characters, Maceo and Mezzi, thrust them together in a, not exactly a meet cute, but maybe a meet disgusting at the end of the world. They end up on a journey together as they travel through the worst post-apocalypse you ever seen in your entire life. And it has become abundantly clear over the course of the arcs of this series what this book is actually about is the post-apocalypse as a metaphor for the arc of a relationship. Yes. We have hit, without getting too much into spoilers, the real bad part of the relationship where you break up and what that feels like. And this is, through the art of this whole team, one of the most visceral representations of a breakup I have read in the history of comics. It's palpable, it's emotional, it's dark, but at the same time, you have these beautiful cartoony characters, particularly from Alexander Tefenkgi and then Nick Dragotta, and the backup stories. He always has very exaggerated things as well. So there's humor, there's fun at the same time that it's taking your heart, ripping it out, throwing it on the floor, and stamping on it.
Yeah, you had me at Jason Aaron. This
was so long ago, Pete. It was right at the beginning of it.
Yeah. So this was just such a creative, unbelievable, heartfelt, heartbreaking story that was just done in such a cool and interesting way. And the way that the artist kind of brought this post-apocalyptic world to life and made it like gross, but also very interesting was just absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, this was just such a great execution and a banger of a series for sure.
It's hard to write a comic where there's a metaphor right at the center because it's either too obvious or too coy. And you're lost in it a little bit. This comic found a way, like Jason Aaron, a master of comic book sort of writing, was able to find a way to be constantly surprising with how he used the metaphor, while also just like the characters were always doing interesting things. The sort of sci-fi angles were super original and pushing the boundaries all the time. Like one of my favorite books of the year, as you could guess.
Let's go to the number 2 pick, if you all are ready for that. It is The Seasons Have Teeth from Boom Studios, written by Dan Watters, art by Sebastian Cabral. Just mentioned before I kick it over to Justin, surprisingly strong showing for Boom Studios on this list, I would say. Good job to them. You've gotten the Comic Book Club seal of approval. Justin, why was this our number 2 pick?
I mean, like we've been talking about, like it's such an emotionally driven story where the premise, the idea comes out of the emotion that we learn about over the course of the series. It's 4 issues, 4 seasons. The premise is that in this Earth, the seasons become sort of kaiju type monsters that are wreaking havoc in different parts of the world. And our main character is a photographer that is somehow able to get close enough to photograph them. And over the course of each issue, we learn about sort of his dark, not really a secret, but the dark circumstances and sad circumstances that he is working through over the course of this. And this book just, to me, stands alone. There's no other comic like it. It feels like it's such a great trade. Feels like Neil Gaiman-esque or like any like great writer with their hands on just a great emotionally driven story where you can really ride along with the main character. Must pick up the trade, I think.
Yeah, the just the title alone lets you know how creative and interesting this is. It paints such an interesting picture and then delivers on it in a way that you weren't ready for. I mean, the Kaiju Monsters is just so fantastic. The art, I mean, it sucks you into this world, takes you to this place, and it really doesn't let you go till the end. And it's just such a well executed idea. I know I've said that a bunch, but that's what you want out of a comic. You think like, oh, I like this idea. Let's see if it delivers. And when it does, you feel great about it. So yeah, just it was artistically really, really impressive. And yeah, the title really delivers.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to what you guys said other than just to reiterate, this was such a nice surprise this year. I didn't see this coming, but Dan Watters has clearly been on a big upswing as a writer, and that really comes to bear here in terms of the emotional content and the plot of it. Feels like nothing I've ever read in my entire life, both from books, comic books, see it in movies or TV. Really just blew me away. And like you guys have said, the art by Sebastian Cabral was gorgeous. All of these creatures were so specific to each season. You could feel it. You could feel it also from the coloring as well. Gorgeous book. Definitely pick this up. Let's get to our number one.
Wow.
I'll mention our number one comic book of the year, and I'll mention last year, our number one comic was a book called Do a Power Bomb by a guy named Daniel Warren Johnson.
Do a Power Bomb.
Do a Power Bomb by Daniel Warren Johnson. So that's what our number one was last year. Let's see what it is this year. It is Transformers from Image Comics by Daniel Warren Johnson, getting a rare 2 years in a row with the number one comic. What a surprise. Pete, you've been DWJ since D1.
That's
Take
right.
it away.
All right.
Wow.
So what I love about this, I mean, there's a ton that I love about this, but what's really kind of interesting to me about this is the fact that we're picking up on the continuity of the Transformers movie, which was the last time the Transformers was real for me. So I just love this idea and the fact that it's in such great hands. I mean, Daniel Warren Johnson doesn't miss. All right. All he does is just hit home run after home run. And I'm happy to be here for it, because taking Transformers and elevating it to a level of Daniel Warren Johnson is such a great idea. It's in such great hands. It's going to tug at your heartstrings. There's going to be unbelievable fights, and the artwork. I mean, come on. The artwork is unfucking believable. Yes, Daniel Warren Johnson does Transformers, and yes, it is worth number one. So why aren't you reading this comic?
If you had told me that at the beginning of this year that we would have a Transformers book as our favorite comic of the year, I would have said, no, what? They're trucks. That's not their whole thing.
It's more than meets the eye.
They're more than meet the eye. And I've learned that, Pete. The Starscream, he's trouble. This airplane is trouble. But like the way that Daniel Warren Johnson infuses emotion into literally every panel, and you know, we've talked about sort of dads in this. Optimus Prime is the ultimate dad. He's like, you read this book, and not a lot of issues have come out, but you're like, oh man, he's my dad. I'm buying him to be his tiny truck.
He's our truck daddy.
He's our truck daddy, as we said. It's
like
so
that.
good. It's also super sad, big action. I honestly don't know what's going to happen. Like, it feels every issue. I'm like, I don't know. These guys are really up against it.
I totally agree with you guys. I will say, for anybody listening out there surprised that Transformers is our number one pick. So again, Justin, Pete, myself, we each came up with our top 20. I ranked them, put them together. Transformers was so far and away the number one just on the basic ranking. When it got time to discuss what our actual list was, this was just a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, all right, that's number one. And for exactly the reason you guys have said, I have never really been a big fan of anything than when I was playing with Transformers as a kid, because I actually like to transform them, and that was pretty much it. This has gotten me so emotionally involved every single issue. Comes down to the emotion that Daniel Warren Johnson puts into every single panel and every single page. It's smartly done. It's cleverly done. It's interestingly done. This has gotten me excited for the whole Energon universe. We're going to be talking about Duke #1 in the stack tomorrow as an extension of it. You got Void Rivals. This really is one of the most, I mean, it's not a new universe, but it's one of the most exciting reboots we've seen in a really long time. And Transformers is at the forefront there and holding the flag. So there you go.
They got the flag.
They got the flag. Now,
what you got coming next year?
Yeah, come on. Come on. Are you going to make it a hat trick, buddy? Listen, here's the thing. As I said at the beginning, though, there were a lot of titles that we could have included in the top 10. So instead, we're going to take some time to talk about some other titles. I'm sure there's still things we're going to miss, but we're going to give each of us a chance to talk about some honorable mentions here, things that didn't end up in the top 15. Pete, why don't you take it away with Pete's honorable mentions? Go ahead.
All right, great. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Unstoppable Doom Patrol, Miss Marvel, The New Mutant, Star Wars Visions, Peach Momoko, Phantom Road, Nightwing, Something is Killing the Children, House of Slaughter, Kaya, Scarlet Witch, In Hell We Fight, The Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country, The Glass House.
Wait, what? Are you just saying stuff?
Yeah, you're just adding things there. Is there anything in particular you wanted to say about any of those titles, or do you just want to read the list?
I was just giving my honorable mentions.
Okay,
he's just
fair
mentioning
enough.
them, Alex. It's just a mention.
Honorable mentions. They're just
it's
mentions. I will mention that a little further, that we discussed this a little bit where we talked about the top 15, but I think Something is Killing the Children, House of Slaughter, and House of Butcher comes out tomorrow, and there's been a couple of other one-shots. Such a smartly done expansion of universe. I said this on one of the stacks, but this feels like this has the potential to be the next Sandman universe, and I think James Tynion and company are being really smart about it in terms of how they're rolling it out. Anything you wanted to add about these, Justin?
I love almost all of those books. I would shout out Scarlet Witch, Nightwing, and Phantom Road as faves on that list. But I also want to shout out the conversation going on in the comments. Monk 422 2004 says very old headshot, which I think is very funny.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, no, we're old, buddy. We're old. I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe Nat. Maybe. Oh yeah, Stray Bullet. That's such an old headshot. He almost looks like Alex right now. Let's get that side by side.
Oh man,
excellent. All right, why don't we go to your honorable mentions, Justin? Here we go. Take it away.
I want to shout out the just consistent best. Nightwing and Ice Cream Man. Those are books we've loved for years. Favorite new superhero. I have some superlatives in here. Hallows Eve is a series that like didn't have any reason to be as good as it was, and it just was so good. Enfield Gang Massacre. Shouts to that book. That Texas Blood team just really crushing it. I want to shout out Jed MacKay, who I think has had just a real come up year. Someone I've been a fan of for a long time, but books this year, the Avengers relaunch has been great. Mary Jane and Black Cat was really awesome, and the Doctor Strange book, one of my faves, week in and week out. From the X-Men universe, some of my favorites, the Hellfire Gala one-shot, changed the continuity. Realm of X and Children of the Vault have been just great, unique stories that could only happen in this current continuity. Thumb up, thumb down. Turn that thumb upside down, Pete. Action Comics, Philip Kennedy Johnson just continuing to build a great story. Sad that he's going to be off of the book. And I may be stealing one of Alex's by saying Black Hammer, The End. Just a book that I think we've all loved. It's hard to tell a great parallel story, like analog story to like Justice League, but Black Hammer just makes it seem all fresh and new.
Yeah, the only thing I would want to add on there in terms of the Action Comics of it all, I don't think I include this in my honorable mentions, but both like the Batman and Superman lines have been very strong lately, which has been great to see. And the X-Men line too, I know Pete is giving his thumbs down here, but I feel like there was stuff that I liked between the Jonathan Hickman era and between Fall of X, but there was a lot. There was a lot going on. It was hard to hold on to. Fall of X has given it a real focus since that Hellfire Gala issue, and it's been exciting to read.
I just want to quickly, while we're talking about headshots and stuff like that, you're over scarfing in that shot there.
You think so?
Yes, Justin has many scarves on, but it's fall, right? So
yeah, it's a cold neck. Michael Eamon also shouting out that I'm a Doctor Who fan with that look, and I'm not, but maybe my body is.
Ooh, interesting.
All right, why don't we wrap this up with my honorable mention?
What? Come on, man.
So, I'm
that
sorry.
is so weird looking.
If you're listening to
You
the
haven't
audio
looked like that
podcast,
a day
if
in
you're
your
listening
life.
to the audio podcast, Justin and Pete are laughing because I have a lot of picks here on the list. That's what they think is very funny.
Honestly,
I'm
the-
sorry,
that-
it was
that
hard
is
to
so-
narrow them down. What's up?
First off,
That-
What?
the fact that head
Beautiful.
should not be attached to that body in any way, shape, or form.
That
That's
neck is so
my
long. you
headshot.
could do
Gross
three
looking-
scarves.
That's my
That's a-
headshot, just like that's your headshot, Pete.
That's
and
the grossest
Justin, that was
thing
your
I've ever
headshot.
seen in my life.
No, that's what I look like. That's my body. I don't
You've never
usually-
looked like that. Not even
I don't
one
take
time.
off my shirt when I'm doing this show because
That's
I want to
true.
be polite to you,
That's
dad
fair.
bods.
Who are we to who are we to judge? I love these comments. Also, Nat says that's that photo from the future. So I look forward to that. Headshot screams classically trained actor from Stray Beans. Definitely.
That's ridiculous. The fact, read your bullshit so we can get.
Yeah,
this
sure.
off.
I am going to read.
Pablo, are you that athletic, Alex? I love
I know.
Pablo's
That's,
taking the
Pablo,
trade.
No.
tell Pablo that's an actual picture of me.
That
Yeah,
is not
absolutely.
it. No, that's not real, and he's never been athletic.
No, that's
or is
absolutely.
athletic.
That is my picture. You can see my Southside Serpents tattoo right on my shoulder, right there, that I always have. That's me.
I love the body.
Oh wait,
you
is
showed.
that fucking what's his face?
KJ Alpha?
Yeah.
Clearly, Alex went to the
my
source
body.
for abs
Oh my
in
god!
America.
Wow.
Why would you
This is-
imply that I spend my free time photoshopping my head onto the cast of Riverdale's body?
You're taking time
That's
away
crazy.
from your honorable
That's
mentions.
crazy.
Right now. We're not gonna have enough time for you to go through all your shit.
Yeah,
My
I need to
honorable
add
mention-
an honorable mention. This shot is on my honorable mentions. as well.
Yeah, I have one honorable mention for each one of my real life abs. All right, why don't we, let me just read through them real quick because there were, like I said, there were 129 things and I was like, oh God, I love these all. But a couple of things I wanted to shout out. I Am Iron Man, which I thought was a phenomenal mini-series that put Iron Man's history through the lens of African-American writers and artists. Hack / Back to School, that was Zoe Thorogood with her take on Hack / so good, so much fun. Can't wait to see what happens with the rest of that series. The Deviant was a series I feel like I would have pushed harder in the top 10, but only 2 issues are out. But Smart,
Yeah.
Terrifying Horror from Jamestown IV and Joshua Hickson. Avengers Inc.,
54.
only 4 issues out, and it's canceled in issue 5. I just wish there were more fun concepts like this. Having a detective agency made up of Avengers in plainclothes, very fun. The Penguin, I've been a little back and forth about Tom King's series this year, but so smart, so well done as the Penguin goes to take back Gotham. Loki was another Dan Waters series where he took a bunch of fingernail clippings and was tracking them down throughout history, but it was mythological, it was interesting, it was funny, really well done as well. World Tree from James Tynion, another one that's a big seller that I think
Scary.
is going to be like a perennial bestseller for years to come. Peacemaker Tries Hard by Kyle Starks. Perfect for fans of the Peacemaker series. Very funny, very fun, and ultimately sweet and sad. Barnstormers, a good Scott Snyder series, but a better Tula Lote series. She won the Eisner for that, and I think rightly so. It was very much an announcement of a new talent on the scene. That was great to see. Radiant Black. Really wanted to give a shout out to this, particularly for the current experiment that they're running in the comic books, where they have 2 stories running of the 2 different Radiant Blacks that is so smartly done. But also, we had this on the list last year. The whole Massive verse I thought was phenomenal. Birds of Prey, another Kelly Thompson book. Leonardo
Love that
Romero's
book.
art in particular is so gorgeous in this. It's old school, it's new school. I think, Justin, you called it out as Wednesday Comics Reborn. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four for Ryan North, just a smart science book that's focusing on done-in-one weird mysteries in the Marvel Universe and stuff. Super fun, having a great time with that. Another superhero universe I want to give a shout out to, Minor Threats and the Alternates from Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom. This is so smart and interesting and mostly about like loss and feeling second best. Superman Lost, speaking of feeling lost, the most gut-wrenching Superman book that is being released right now. I don't know how it's going to wrap up, but woof. Hard read, but smartly done. Nat Townsend says, this must be Alex's revenge for all the times Pete picked too many books at the end of the show. Yes. We got Clobberin' Time. This is a Steve Scroce book about the Thing basically doing a Marvel 2-in-1, but through his absolutely gross take on the Thing, just getting his little rocks knocked off and stuff. Great stuff. Really fun. Really good book. Old Dog by Declan Shalvey. That book went absolutely bonkers wild. Was so impressed with the directions it went in. We got Spy Superb by Matt Kint. Really smart, funny book as well. Subgenre. Another Matt Kint book that's just getting going, but I don't know what's going to happen from issue to issue as it's playing around with the idea of genre. Really smart. We've got The Midnight Show by Cullen Budd.
Can't even read your own list.
I can't. It's too tiny. Well, this is a really great horror title. A bunch of Universal movie monsters invading a town in the most bloody, horrific way possible. Also, Alan Scott, The Green Lantern. This is just a really smart take on how to take a retcon about an LGBTQ plus character and work it into his origin. I really, really like this book. Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country, The Glass House, Pete already mentioned. Love Everlasting by Tom King and Elsa Charretier. This is another great romance book. They're just breaking down the thorn. Oh, no. Oh, I'm running out of time. Okay, hold on. Almost done. The Neighbors. This was, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the author, but Letizia Cadanici, who also does stuff on the House of Slaughter book. This is just a weird, upsetting horror book that deals with trans issues at the same time. I thought it was smartly done. Superman Space Age by Mark Russell and Mike Allred and Laura Allred, I believe, as well. That recast Superman's origin and the history of the DC Universe against the space race. And last but not least, the new champion of Shazam by Josie Campbell and Evan Dockshainer. This was just a great Shazam book. I love this so much. It's so much fun. And it leads directly into the Amazon's Attack book that's currently running that I also love as well. So there you go. Whoop, whoop.
That
is it.
I have to go lay down and maybe barf a little. So this is fantastic. What a year. I'll see you guys very soon.
Or not. Good night, Justin.
Don't say that. Bye.
Oh, man, I hope he doesn't die.
Yeah.
We're going to need him next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we are.
No, but seriously, he's sick. So he said, I'm going to brave my way through this. And we said, don't hurt yourself. But he was like, no, I want to be here for this. So it was super nice of him to kind of do that, even though he should have probably been resting. He's a family, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? He shouldn't be so reckless.
Totally agree. That is it for the top 15. But now we're going to move on with our next section, which is my favorite section because you all make it up. It's your audience questions. And for audience questions, all you got to do is drop a question on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch. And now you could also reply to the post on Twitter/X, and that will pop up here as well. But Pete, what you drinking tonight?
Oh, I'm drinking, a little light. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Just have a little light beer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Brett, as usual, designed a lovely sounding drink for us. He designed a festive Negroni. I did not have all the ingredients for that, but I did make a regular Negroni in the honor, and I'm excited to make the festive Negroni some down the line. Love a good Negroni and good year. Also, Brett, I believe, if you are on our Patreon Slack, is going to be putting up the top 5 cocktails of the year or something.
Ooh,
like that. So maybe we'll talk about
awesome.
that next show.
Stray Bullies is the best, man.
Yeah, he is. All right, why don't we get into some questions here? This is from Edward Doherty. I only just joined the chat. What are your favorite comics of 2023?
Oh, man.
Edward,
All right, we'll have to...
we just went. Should we go back to the beginning? I'll just
No. He can check it out. Don't bring up that. Oh,
Okay,
fucking slide.
Hold on, and then I just go back to this one.
Stop.
And then keep going back to that one.
Stop zooming in. It's so unnatural. Why are you ashamed of your body so much, buddy?
I'm not ashamed of my body.
Well,
I'm just happier with KJ Apple's body. What else have we got here? Let's see.
Stop shaming your own body.
Yes. Okay. Nat Townsend would like to know, is Pete okay in general? How are you doing, Pete?
That's a complicated question, man. I'm trying my best. I can tell you that much. If you're talking about the fact that I checked out while Alex was monologuing, yeah, I listen to his fucking shit so much. It's just not. Some days I can take it, and other days it just, I have to.
I'm sorry. I was talking about comics you also like. I apologize.
Yeah. Sure you were.
And this is what happened to Justin. We just explained that. He is very, very sick, so he
Yep.
left. Also, a note if anybody's listening to the live show, the stack is going to be a little late this week because we haven't been able to tape with Justin. So that'll be coming a little later than usual on Wednesday. Kevin says, what are your bottom 5 comics of 2023?
Everything X-Men.
Oh, boo. I'm also sick. You don't see me leaving.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
I don't know. I don't like focusing on that. I respect
Yeah,
the fact
that's
that you're
true.
asking it, Kevin. Oh gosh, sorry. Justin is texting and being like, "I'm sick," which we already know. Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather talk about the stuff we like. And like I said, it was hard to narrow it down to 129 titles I like because there were a lot of things I was like, "Well, I like that. Was that best?" I don't know, but I liked it still.
yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's also tough to. Yeah, we'd rather just not focus on the
Well,
negative.
the other thing, though, I think this really underlined for me this process of deciding the best of the year. The thing we've been talking about all year that I don't know if we can conclusively say that comics are better than ever, but all this talk about comics are dying or they're dead or whatever, business wise, whatever, creatively, I'm so excited about comics. We've been doing the show for over 17 years at this point, and you would have thought I would have been tired of it already. I'm not. There are things that are so creative, so smart, so exciting to read. I love it. So, again, I know you're making a joke, Kevin, but I just don't think it's worth focusing on the bottom. Focus on the top 5 and kind of go from there. This is from Edward Doherty. Thoughts on Rebel Moon? Did you watch Zack Snyder's new movie Rebel Moon on Netflix, Pete?
No, I almost did, but then I saw the Ricky Gervais special was there, so I was like, I'd rather laugh. So
I watched it.
okay,
Yep. Just weighing in with that. No, it was not good. It's very much.
don't spoil it. I want to watch it.
I can't. Have you ever seen the movie Star Wars, Pete?
Yeah,
Okay,
numerous
then
times.
then I cannot spoil it. It is legitimately
not.
like straight up. Here's how I'll pitch it. The entire time it was boggling in my mind because
Wait. I'm
everybody.
gonna take my headphones off because I don't want to.
No, this is
I
not a
want to see
spoiler.
it. I want to see
Okay,
it.
take your
going-
headphones off and I'll talk
Okay.
about it for a second and then you can put them back on. This is hard to do when there's 2 people. But Star Wars, as everybody knows, is liberally based on a lot of the Akira Kurosawa stuff, particularly the Seven Samurai, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name of the other one. But there's a lot of stuff that George Lucas pulled on. One of them, of course, was those Seven Samurai. This movie is like, hey, you know how Star Wars was based on Seven Samurai? What if we did Star Wars, but it was Seven Samurai? And it made me feel insane while I was watching it because it's all these Star Wars things, but like straight up going to a cantina shot the same way. But then he's also just doing Seven Samurai, but it's not even interesting. It's visually, it mostly looks like garbage, which I'm not a Zack Snyder defender, but I think one of the things that he really has going for him is he often directs really visually interesting scenes. Not here. This is just a bad movie through and through, and it's a real bummer. Pete, you can't hear me. Tune back in. You're not even looking at me. Pete, put the headphones back on. Oh my gosh.
okay.
You were looking down. Man.
Well, yeah, man. I got to check out when you start talking.
Oh boy. Well, anyway, curious to hear what you think about Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, when you eventually watch it. Let's see. Panico Mandala says Alex's nips in the pic remind me of Batman and Robin. Was he the stunt double in the movie? Yes, I was actually.
Why are you
I
still
was.
doing this?
Yeah, those are my real nipples.
No, they're not.
Michael Edmund asks how to get more nipples every time he shows that picture. It is weird. Yeah. Huh. There you go. Well, anyway, from Nat Townsend, what do you think will be the
Stop
best
letting
comics?
the trolls win.
No, they already won, buddy. What do you think will be the best comics of 2024?
I don't know. That's the exciting part. We don't know yet.
Oh gosh, I am. Hold on. Wait, there is a book by Tom King and Bilquis Evely that I'm forgetting about the name of, that I'm looking up right now. That is called Helen of Windhorn. There we go. And they pitched it, I think, as Conan meets Chronicles of Narnia. And it's about a woman whose father dies. He wrote a Conan-style series. She travels back to his mansion and discovers a lot of the stories that he wrote are real. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is one of the best series of all time. So I cannot wait to check that out. That's going to be great. I've mentioned this before. I'm really interested to check out the Ultimate Universe stuff, particularly Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men, because I think that's going to be like maybe one of the wildest comic books Marvel has ever released.
Well, if Peach is there, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, Peaches. And also, I know you're not into it, but I'm really interested to see how they wrap up the Krakoa era. Like, I think that's going to be epic and dark and interesting. Plus, we've got the reboot of X-Men coming in July under Tom Brevoort, potentially with Gail Simone writing X-Men. So that should be interesting as well. So that should be fun.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Reminder, we got that one question that was an audience question that, yes.
We do. I was trying to think of some DC stuff that's coming up before we move on.
Okay, I'm just sorry. Just thought
of that. This is early in the year, but Chip Zdarsky is doing a Joker Year One and Batman, which I think is going to be potentially interesting. Maybe a disaster. I guess we'll see what happens, but that should be fascinating. We talked about this a little bit on the show before, but there's been hints that DC is going to do something big by the end of the year. I have no idea what that is, but I'm very curious. All right, why don't we go to that question that you mentioned? This was actually sent to us last week, and I'm sorry I forgot about it. Thank you for reminding me, Pete. This is from Thor Axdal, sent through email. I have a question for your live show. I've recently been reading the Batman One Bad Day stories, and I just finished the Catwoman one. I loved how the story begins with one bad day, but ends on a positive note. It was a cathartic night for Selina, and she grew as a person by the end of it. This got me thinking. If DC were to do a One Good Day series for Superman, what characters and stories would you like to see? For me, I'd love to see a story with John and Martha being proud of a young Clark as he's developing his powers and using them for kindness. Thank you for your time. I love the show.
Aww.
Thank you so much, Thor. And I love this question. This is such a great question. If you're going to do a One Good Day for the Superman books, characters, whatever, what would you want to see?
Well, for me, Soups is about loss. The fact that he lost his family, he lost his planet, he is a stranger here. I would love to see the day he realizes he belongs. Like he saves the earth he loves. He has like a typical day of saving people and that kind of stuff. But then maybe he has a little moment with his, mom or something, where he talks about, the fact that he finally feels like, he realizes that saving this planet because he lost his own and saving other people's family members because he lost his own is the way he feels like he belongs, and, just kind of has a nice moment with his mom, and maybe you see his son setting on the farm or something as, kind of zooms out. But yeah, that to me, I would love to see that.
If the One Bad Day idea is about villains who went in the wrong direction because of one bad day or one bad day that changed them in some way, if you did One Good Day, the first character that came to mind was actually Bibbo Babowski. I feel like that would be a fun one to do it with, but I don't think that's exactly right. I think you'd have to do somebody like Metallo. Like Metallo finally having a good day and seeing what that does to him. That could be really interesting. Or like one of those villains who's on the edge. Or even maybe not, like what would Lex Luthor's One Good Day be like? Like he thinks he's beaten Superman for one day and eventually probably screws it up because that's what he does. I love that idea. That's so smart. And I would 100% read that. I hope somebody from DC is listening and just steals that idea. Please do. So all apologies to Thor because I want to read it. This is a question from Nat. Audience question. Alex, can you bring up your headshot up again? Absolutely.
No, fucking.
This is what this looks like. Thank you so much, Nat. I appreciate your question and your writing in. This is Kevin apologizing for his previous question. Top 5 comics adjacent media items from the last year. I guess that means movies, TV shows, Funko Pops, watches. What do you think, Pete?
I hate you
just
guys.
so traumatized at this point.
I just I got nothing, man. You talk.
Sure. We reviewed a lot of shows. I think Riverdale was pretty good. I really liked the last season of that. Doom Patrol ended really nicely while we're talking about
Doom
TV
Patrol is
shows.
great.
I think Sandman came out this year, and I was kind of surprised and impressed by that.
Was Peacemaker this year?
Nope. Adventures of Superman, though. My Adventures with Superman. Delightful show. That was absolutely wonderful. And movie-wise, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was great. I really enjoyed Blue Beetle a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I'm blanking on. Across the Spider-Verse, obviously, as well. Yeah, I don't know. That's some stuff. You got anything additional there, Pete?
Nat saying Stranger Things. That's a good call.
That didn't come out this year.
Well,
Did it? Did it? I don't know.
I thought in the beginning of the year, maybe.
I don't know. I feel like you're flagging. So why don't we move on to Edward Doherty says, what do you see happening with comic book movies considering the past year? Great question. What's your prediction, Pete? I know you're not really a business guy, but given all the troubles that comic book movies have had over the past year, what do you think is going to happen in 2024?
I don't know. I think maybe, instead of just being like, who cares if it's a superhero movie, just green light it. Maybe it'll just kind of like have to move back to the middle of the pack and, only really good ideas will get greenlit, or I'm not sure. But, as someone who grew up with not as many superhero movies and had this amazing boom happen, I got no problem with it calming down a little bit and having to wait a little bit longer between stuff. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I feel like the pendulum's going to swing the other way, but it might swing back in our favor again.
I do think it's going to be sort of a holding your breath year more than anything. If we're talking about Marvel, you got a couple of TV show things in there, but you only have Deadpool 3. If you're talking about DC, the DCEU is done at this point. Like Aquaman 2 was the last thing. And I think there's Creature Commandos is coming out on TV next year, but the whole DCU from James Gunn doesn't start until 2025. So I don't know. There's one part of me that certainly thinks and hopes that it's going to be like, okay, this is the break that everybody needs and they'll come back. But I also think other things are going to jump into that gap there. And we're going to get some sort of shift in media where the focus is going to go away from superhero movies, which I don't think is the worst thing. Like having them as the dominant form of media all the time is frankly kind of exhausting sometimes. And I also like being like, ooh, what a special treat. I get to see a Batman movie once every 3 years. Isn't that nice? Versus, okay, this is the 15th comic book movie I got to see this year, and I got to get home because I've had 5 episodes of Echo to watch. It's a lot, Yeah. So I know we're in a weird position because we host a show, so I feel an obligation to see that stuff. But at the same time, as a comic book fan, it's okay. It's okay if it's just Deadpool 3 and Creature Commandos and a couple of other TV shows. That's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any favorite new characters introduced this year? This is from Easy Reader.
Man alive. Yes. I can't think of any, but yeah, I mean, there's been so much great stuff coming out this year.
I would throw out City Boy from DC.
Yeah.
It was really good from Greg Pak and Minkyu Young, I think was the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was it wasn't Ghost World. It was Spirit World was the name of the book. I forget.
Oh yeah, Spirit World.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the character, but she was cool as well. And this is not a new character this year, but Nicole Maines, as while we're keeping on the DC bent, has been pushing so hardcore for Dreamer off of her run as Dreamer on the Supergirl TV show. It really feels like this is another one that I'm interested to see next year. They took Dreamer, put her in various backup stories. Next year, she's going to be the lead of the Suicide Squad. It's probably going to be a big year for Suicide Squad with the video game coming out as well. So that's a character that I think like they're really trying to give staying power in the same way that a Miss Marvel or Miles Morales has. But There you go. That's all DC stuff. Otherwise, I think in terms of favorite new characters, I think like a lot of the stuff that is going to have staying power is from Image Comics or a lot of the other publishers that we've talked about. Something is Killing the Children is going to be sticking around for a really long time.
Yeah.
Radiant Black, the Massive Verse is, I think, one that they're really laying the groundwork for there. And I think Minor Threats and the Alternates, that whole universe, has a possibility of growing. They announced a sequel as well.
And I'm hoping for, I know this wasn't this year invented, but more Far Sector stuff. The comic was unbelievable when it first came out.
They haven't really figured out how to use Joe since then.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Nat says, what are the bottom comics of 2023? Comics about bottoms. Obviously, Nightwing is the only answer there. Clive Evans says, do you collect any physical comics yourselves, or is everything you read digital?
Yes, I collect both.
Yes, most of my physical comics collection is through my son, who we go once a week and buy him comics because we read the stuff digitally for the stack and otherwise. But I'll usually buy him a stack of stuff. So we have too many comics in our house, but there you go.
Great problem to have.
Nat would like to know, why did you watch Gervais? And he follows that up with, I thought you said you wanted to laugh.
Yeah. I mean, they booed him in the special. He was getting booed, so it was real interesting. Oh, man, I like watching stand-up comedians. I don't know what to tell you, Nat. I thought we were on the same page on that.
Interesting. Controversial guy, kind of a jerk. Nelson Kelso says, any
Agreed.
movies or shows announced for 2024 you guys are hyped for? I'm excited for the return of House of the Dragon. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm kind of excited for The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, which reunites Rick and Michonne.
Ooh.
I've been watching The Walking Dead stuff religiously for years, but this is one that I'm like, okay, I'm into that relationship. If it's actually romantic, like they're apart and they get back together, that's going to be a good moment. I'm excited to check that out.
I'm excited for Echo. I'm hoping there's going to be some kind of Blade that we're going to get. I don't know.
That's been pushed until at least 2025.
Damn it. Well, I'm still excited for it.
Monk 420202004 says, have you guys watched Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix?
No, I saw you mentioning that, Noel. I wrote it down and put it in my queue. I got to check it out. There's so much to watch.
Yeah, I haven't watched that. The other one that I really want to watch, just sort of on the same bent, is it Sovereign's Reign? Is supposed to be excellent, sort of on like the kind of anime bent. Frederica Rosa said, did you guys watch Aquaman? How's the hype? If not.
Oh, I watched it all right.
Uh-oh. Oh, man. And you're number one Aquaman fan. Aqua fan. I could not make it out this weekend to see it. I was going to try to, but woof. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Silence speaks volumes.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Michael Emmons says, what do you guys think of the new compendium format? I'm reading Sandman Mystery Theater Compendium right now, which is why I ask. I don't know what the compendium format is. Do you know, Pete?
Nope.
There you go. I'll have to look that up. I know it's not the paperback version that's coming out later this year. I wonder what that is. Let's see. Here we go. Edward would like to know, what were your top 5 lists of 2023? Well, I loved our best comics list.
Oh, man.
Nat says, do you think Sony will finally reveal their own Spider-Man, or they're holding out for one of the existing actors? I think they're holding out for one of the existing actors. I think they would love to get Tom Holland to do some stuff, but if not, they'll try to get, probably Andrew Garfield seems to be most likely to do it. Also, did Echo come out? No, it comes out on January 10th. And then, hold on, I'm trying to get through these comments. Will this be the year that Pete finally punches Nat?
Ooh, I don't know if we can squeeze it in this year, but might have to be next year.
All right.
Knuckle sandwich.
Knuckle sandwich 2024. All right, there we go. That is it for your audience questions.
Thank you. All right.
And now we're going to move on with the next section, which is trivia. And for that, we're going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right. Yeah. We'll give back to you, the lovely audience. It's an opportunity to win $25 free to Midtown Comics Online, because if you had $25, you go to a comic book shop. So we just need a brave volunteer, or we can make Zelbatron do it and we can donate to charity.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I guess figure out if you want to steal from charity or not. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Pete, do you have a favorite? Oh, Nat says me.
Oh, boy.
Wow, there we go. Well, we can't bring him in necessarily, so we'll just have to do the trivia.
I mean, he's a busy guy. He's probably performing live on stage somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Here, you know what? I'll send him the link. We'll see.
Oh, there's Michael. He said give it to Michael.
Oh, he said give it to Michael? All right, so Michael Emmond. Yeah, Michael Emmond gets it. There you go. Michael, just leave it in the comments. Pete, take it away.
All right, today's trivia is on comic book quotes and a small nod to the legend Andre Brower, R.I.P. Captain Raymond Holt. All right, please listen to all three options before making your selection. Here we go. Question number 1. Who said Paradise Undurned is a bit a land of shadows? Ooh. Oh, I'm sorry. Paradise Undurned is but a land of shadows. I can't read my own handwriting. Was it A, Tupac, B, the Silver Surfer, or C, Bill Nunn?
While we're doing that, since this is going to take a minute, or maybe not, over on Instagram, Cool Hand Dan Tattoo says thoughts on the direction of the MCU. How are you feeling about that, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, how do you, Michael said, it's a comic book quotes, and only one of them was a comic book character, Michael. Don't overthink it.
Is it B?
It is B, yes.
Wow, there we go.
All right. We'll come back to that question there.
Yeah.
Right, question number 2. Who said discussion is for bioorganisms? Was it A, Deathlock, B, the Brain, or C, Bob Miner?
Feels like the MCU has got to fix a lot of stuff. I would say they've got to figure out some stuff, and hopefully they are taking this year where they only have one movie and a couple of TV shows that are mostly done to figure that out and reassess. And I don't know. They just got to change the whole thing. So
Michael is correct. It is A.
Wow.
Here we go. Last one. Question number 3. Who said grown-ups are a strange breed? Their brains weigh close to 3 pounds, and that's not 3 pounds of cherry delight. Was it A, the Tick, B, Deadpool, or C, Mark Margolis?
Probably Mark Margolis, I would think.
Yeah, it sounds like something he would say, right?
Oh my God, totally. That is classic Mark Margolis.
Yeah. Kevin thought I was going to say Denzel Washington, but I didn't.
Man, I feel like
You're
your
in
main
my
goal
head,
with
Kevin.
trivia is to trick Kevin.
That's all I'm doing now.
Okay.
That's all I'm doing. All right. Michael said B, which was a great guess, and I put it in there to try to trick you. It was the Tick. The Tick said it.
Wow, there we go. Congratulations, Michael. You have won a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. Shoot us an email, and we will get that off to you shortly. Pete, what was the secret movie? The Andre Brower movie that you were hinting at there.
It was hilarious because Kevin says it's still Glory. Yes, it is the 1989 classic Glory.
All right. Well, Pete, as we all know, new comic books are coming out all the time, even here at the end of the year. What are you looking forward to that's coming out tomorrow?
Oh, man, a lot of great stuff coming out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to Giant Robot Hellboy, number 3. I'm looking forward to Deadly Hands of Kung Fu and the Sensational She-Hulk.
Oh, yeah. All good picks. What am I looking forward to? So many things. I'm looking forward to there's a new issue of Sandman Universe Nightmare Country, The Glass House, which is the end of this arc. New Avengers, Inc., which, as I mentioned, great mystery series. Very, very fun. Also looking forward to the end of Batman Santa Claus Silent Night.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming out. Just a fun title. And curious to check out Holy Roller #2 from Image Comics. I
Yeah.
wasn't big on the first issue, but I really want to give it a chance because the team is very good.
I mean, come on. Sandberg.
So bowling, Andy Samberg,
Come on.
violence, come on. So as mentioned, Stack Podcast is going to be running a little late. Usually comes out Wednesday, 9 a.m. in the Comic Book Club feed in its own dedicated Stack feed, but it will be out a little later than usual this week. So thank you for bearing with us. But guys, folks, that is it for this week's show.
Woo-hoo.
The last show of 2023. A couple of things we want to plug. We want to plug next week's guest. We are going to have a big 2024. We have some amazing guests for you pretty much every week for the first part of the year at the very least, and then hopefully for the rest of the year as well. We're going to be kicking off with John Ridley is going to be here on January 2nd to talk about the Ministry of Compliance, among many other things. Also, Cliff Blazinski is going to be here to talk about Scrapper. Super fun
Cliff.
future dog book that he's been doing with Alex DeCampi that is great. Comic Book Club News, our Comic Book Club news podcast coming out daily, except for this week and probably next week while I take a break for the holidays. Marvel Vision, at some point, we'll catch up with What If. Meanwhile, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Support this show and all the other shows we do. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Android, Spotify, or the app of your choice. At Comic Book Live on Twitter/X. Comic Book Club Live on Instagram and TikTok. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and many more. Thank you, everybody, for listening to these podcasts over the course of 2023. Happy New Year to you all. We will check you again in 2024. You do not know how much we appreciate it. Thank you. Have a lovely night.
Yeah, take care of yourselves out there. We need you.
Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year again.